But first, the big story. An embarrassed and upset central government and Home Ministry has served a legal notice to the BBC that defied orders and went ahead with the telecast of the controversial documentary on the Delhi rape in the United Kingdom. The government now is making every effort to control the damage, be it attempting to ban access to the online link or investing the alleged violation of permission that was granted to the documentary filmmaker. Public opinion in India, though, remains divided. Kamaljit Sandhu has our prime story tonight.
Defying the ban by the Indian government, BBC released its documentary on Nirbhaya in the UK on Wednesday night. The premiere of India's Daughter sparked protests outside BBC's office in Delhi. The film was to premiere on International Women's Day on 8th March, but a statement from the BBC said, given the intense level of interest, they brought the transmission forward. The British broadcaster, however, conveyed to the Home Ministry that it would comply with the government's directive and not telecast the documentary in India.
यदि शर्तों का उल्लंघन हुआ है तो शर्तों का उल्लंघन हुआ है तो निश्चित रूप से कार्रवाई होगी। वैसे हम लोगों ने बीबीसी से यही आग्रह किया था कि इसे नहीं दिखाया जाना चाहिए।
Even as the Home Ministry mulled action against BBC, the documentary was up for public viewing. It was uploaded on YouTube. This, even as Delhi police went ahead and issued a notice to the producers under Section 19 of the CRPC, asking them to submit all unedited footage and the documentary itself.
The session should not be broadcasted and should not be disseminated, particularly as far as we are concerned within the country. But we'll take steps to ensure that its further dissemination from, portals or, whatever is required.
But the question is, does a film that allegedly attempts to delve into the mindset of Indian men need to be banned? With Kamaljit Sandhu in Delhi, Bureau Report, Headlines Today.
The big question, the Delhi rape documentary, was the BBC right in going ahead with the telecast? That's the question that I want to raise tonight, and I will try and get in different perspectives because this is a complex issue. It's not black and white. I'll be joined from London by Farooq Dondi, British screenwriter. Also joining me is Sunita Dhar, director of Jagori, an activist, Maxwell Pereira, former Delhi Joint Commissioner of Police, Abha Singh, lawyer and activist from Mumbai, Madhu Kishwar, editor of Manushi, is joining me. I appreciate all of you joining us. I want to come to each one of you and ask you where you stand first on the issue. Sunita Dhar, you've written a letter to Pranoy Roy, you're one of the signatories to Pranoy Roy of NDTV in New Delhi, suggesting that you expected that the film be withdrawn and you put legal and ethical objections. Do you really believe that these objections stand after the fact that the BBC has gone ahead and telecast the film? It's now available across YouTube. Many people have seen it. Do those objections still stand? Ms. Dhar. I don't think we can get through to Ms. Dhar. Let me try and see. Sunita Dhar, if you can hear me. Madhu Kishwar, why don't you start off then? Madhu Kishwar, tell us, where do you stand on this issue?
I'm just so appalled at making a mountain out of a molehill. It's not even a molehill. I see absolutely no reason why the government of India should have acted in this knee-jerk fashion simply because some TV channels went berserk over it. It was rivalry between two TV channels which resulted in it, and they created a brain fever. Now the Home Minister should have applied his mind. I think he's not even looking into the legal niceties in this.
Are you saying no? Hold on, Madhu Kishwar. Madhu Kishwar, I want all my panelists to be as succinct as possible. I want to know from you: do you believe the Home Minister of the country should have at least watched the film before he decided to go ahead and ban it?
But there's no cause to ban it. I don't understand, simply because somebody in jail has been interviewed and his perverse mindset is part of a longish documentary. Where is the cause to ban it? Where is the need for the Home Minister? He has better things to do.
They are saying, the objectors are saying it provides, ma'am, Ma'am, just a minute. The objectors are saying it provides a platform to the rapist. They say that it glamorizes the entire issue. It allows hate speech in a way because the rapist is in a sense inciting people to violence with the kind of comments that he made in that documentary. How do you respond to that? That is this a platform for the rapist?
Most of those who've seen it say that they're revolted by the total lack of remorse in the rapist, far from romanticizing. In fact, he's indicting himself and is going to negatively impact his own mercy petition. He has harmed himself more than he has harmed that woman. I think it's so ridiculous that our members of parliament, you know, Lok Sabha is supposed to be a forum for cool, calm deliberations. They went hysterical simply because some media channels were going hysterical, and then the Home Minister acts in this ham-handed, knee-jerk fashion. It's made India a laughing stock the world over.
We've been made a laughing stock the world over. I don't know if Sunita Dhar can hear me now, but I want to go to you, Maxwell Pereira. You know, the police in itself, the manner in which the police went about it, they went by a few comments that were made by the filmmaker in a press conference, and the next thing that they decided is that the film should be banned. Is this a classic example of a knee-jerk reaction that, as Madhu Kishwar is pointing out, has made us a laughing stock? All across the world, people are watching this film.
Rajdeep, let me just put this in perspective. The Commissioner of Police would act. The matter has been debated in Parliament. As Madhu put it, there has been hysteria all around. I don't think there has been a cool and calm deliberation. There is the hysteria has been built up by a couple of channels, and particularly one channel. And I don't think there was any reason for that before seeing the film. I have talked to the people who have seen the film. I myself haven't seen it.
So why did the police ban it? So do you believe that the Delhi police jumped the gun?
Totally.
No, let's be clear. Do you believe therefore that the Delhi police jumped the gun?
No. I believe that there must be some directive from the Home Ministry to the Delhi Police Commissioner to act on this. I don't think the police would have acted on their own on this. At least that is my opinion. And if there is a law, attracted, definitely, well, the investigation. If a complaint has been made to the Commissioner of Police on this, yes, the police will register a case. Registering a case is a different thing, but building up a hysteria is a different thing.
Can I just hold on? Can I just hold you to that thought, sir? Let me hold you to that thought. You're saying a hysteria. Just a minute, sir.
If there is a law and order repercussion,
yes.
If there is a law and order repercussion, yes, he is justified in doing whatever he thinks is fit.
Right. But can I for a moment bring you in, Abha Singh? What is this law and order implication? The law and order implication which is being spoken about. Could you tell me what is the law and order implication in a case like this? What is the fear that should be there to ban the film? As I said, it's all over YouTube today. The moment BBC has put out the story, the link is available, people are watching it. So what has been achieved by this so-called ban?
Law and order would have been, the right course would have been that Delhi Police Commissioner had banned the film under 144 section, that it would lead to nuisance, it would lead to a law and order, because seeing that maybe a group of women or some activists would have come forward like it came out after the Nirbhaya case and would have created law and order. But Delhi Police legal team is very weak. They just went and filed a criminal case, 509, 505, that is nuisance, and in that you are supposed to take action, you are supposed to arrest. Have they arrested anybody? No. Your first question that how could BBC go ahead and show the documentary, because the Delhi police did not go the right way. They should have gone through the civil procedure code. They should have asked for an injunction, which if it was issued by
BBC telecast, Abha Singh, BBC telecast out of London.
To the BBC,
just a minute.
And then it would have been stopped.
BBC telecast out of London. Whether a directive of the Indian Home Ministry applies to a channel that beams out of London is a big question mark. Maybe Farooq Dondi, you can answer that. Do you believe that the BBC should have waited to hear what, should have been a little bit more sensitive to Indian public opinion? Is the question which is being made to the views of the Home Ministry or the views of the Delhi police?
for public order or for anything of that sort, or for listening to politicians. The news media all over the world should be free to show what I consider, because I have, unlike some of your listeners here, unless some of your participants, I've seen the documentary. I saw it last night. It's a good documentary, and it's an absolutely internationally necessary documentary to demonstrate what goes on in a country. I'm not saying that India should be the victim of such a documentary. It shouldn't even see itself as such. There were some people who are felons. The documentary does not completely concentrate on Mukesh Singh's testimony from jail. It does some marvelous things. It gets to the parents of Mukesh Singh. It talks to the parents of the poor Jyoti, of Nirbhaya, and gets to them to ask them and gives them a voice to talk about their tremendous, unbelievable loss.
And yet the publicity, and yet Mr. Dondi, the publicity focused on Mukesh Singh. So maybe the filmmaker or the producers made that mistake, that they focused in a manner to try and sensationalize, and thereby gave the space to critics to say, look, this is an attempt being made to sensationalize a sensitive issue.
I don't know if the documentary maker herself concentrated on Mukesh Singh's interview. It was a very small part of the documentary. They demonstrated what the public of India, what the students of Jawaharlal Nehru University, when they came out to demonstrate, what they thought of it. They had Mrs. Seth, Vikram's mother, talking as a judge, talking about the climate, the attitudes in India. They had the attorneys of Mukesh Singh and gang talking and trying to justify the idea that women who go out at night get raped.
So you're
and
saying,
so on.
You're saying they had multiple opinions, that it was not just the opinion of Mukesh Singh. Then Nandita Rao, why is it that groups like yours or lawyers like yours have written and asked that this documentary be stopped? Why have you asked for...
Because they didn't see it.
Because they didn't see it. Nandita Rao, I presume you saw it before you...
I did actually see it, Mr. Dondi. Don't be so presumptuous. Yes, I had the opportunity of seeing it, Rajdeep, and I opposed it more vehemently after I saw it. I think, Mr. Dondi, 1 minute, sir. Well, only if you'd let me speak, you'll hear it, but probably you think women shouldn't even have the opportunities to speak, and men should speak. No, what is presumptuous is that you presume that we have not seen the film and we condemn it. I have seen the film, and contrary to what you're saying, 87% of the film time is dedicated to Mukesh Singh and his lawyers, and they have used that time to spew hate speech. They have trivialized crimes against women. They have glorified crimes against women. They have demonized women who choose to stand against patriarchal society, who choose to go out at night, who choose to have male friends. And only 13% of the screen time is used to give Nirbhaya's parents footage.
But Nandita, how do you respond? Nandita, how do you respond to the filmmaker? Nandita, just a minute. How do you respond to the filmmaker who says, I am trying to reveal the mindset of this rapist, that the world must know the mindset of a criminal? It is the truth. A documentary filmmaker must show a mirror to the world.
There was no provocation in it. It was exactly what you
say. Rajdeep, to the filmmaker, I say, just a second, Mr. Dondi.
Yes.
Well,
go ahead,
clearly, Mr. Dondi is unwilling to give anybody else any space to speak.
Go ahead.
Every woman knows the mindset of a rapist. Every woman, not just growing up in India, but growing up in any part of the world. We live in a patriarchal world. And 60% of the male population is misogynistic, not 100%. There are men who are feminists, who are liberals, but 60% of the male population is misogynistic. Yes, hate speech can be used in cinema to describe a mindset, and Anand Padmarzan has done it beautifully in Final Solution, in Ram Ke Naam. But This filmmaker is completely immature. She has lost control of the narrative. The narrative is completely controlled by misogynists. And when this film is aired in India, where 60% of the population are across the world, it is only going to get validation from people who think a bad girl deserves it. She asked for it. And it is going to make parents even more protective. We women have fought for a space, for the freedom to occupy the night.
So that's the ethical...
And films like this are going to petrify parents.
I'll come to the legal argument in a moment, but you're raising the ethical question.
Editorial guidelines of BBC.
Yes.
Will BBC show pornography? Will BBC interview pedophiles showing their mindset?
But what is
Will BBC show anti-Semitic hate films where 80%...
Are we mixing issues? Are we mixing issues, Nandita? Is this, and surely this film is not anti-Semitic. This film can't be likened to pornography and pedophilia. I mean, let me bring in Madhu Kishwar, who seems to be saying
it's hate speech. It's unadulterated hate speech.
You believe it's unadulterated hate speech? You know, Madhu Kishwar,
unadulterated hate speech
just
to
a minute.
Hateful audience.
Okay, Madhu Kishwar, you're saying it's a mountain out of a molehill. When I look at the ethical arguments that have been raised, they're very strong ones and raised by some very respected lawyers and activists, saying that they have a problem with the ethical content as well as the legal arguments that are being made, that the case is still in its final stages and you're giving a platform, in a sense, to this person to spew what Nandita Rao is calling hate speech. So it's not making a mountain out of a molehill. Why do you think it's a mountain out of a molehill then, Madhu Kishwar?
See, firstly, Rajdeep, I think women can do without such hysterical defenders. We need calm people, people who can think things through, the implications of censorship laws, making them more draconian, making them more arbitrary. Unfortunately, in India, feminists have been in the forefront of demanding tighter censorship laws. In 1980s, they got a very obscene law to curb obscenity against women. Now, this case is a typical one of being more loyal than the king. Nirbhaya's parents, who were shown this film, had no problem with it. They didn't think it was hostile to her. They didn't think it was misogynist. But here are these bunch of self-appointed reformers, self-appointed defenders of women's rights, a small bunch of them, creating hysteria. It has long-term implications. Any small group of people can get up tomorrow and demand censorship and ban on this, that or the other.
That's an interesting point.
Are we living in a democracy?
Madhu, let me take that point. You're making an interesting point. You believe that this self-appointed guardians of morality will every time demand a ban on a film that they believe doesn't fit in with their worldview. Quick response to that, Nandita. Let me then after that widen it. That are you, in a sense, this is the short end of the stick. Today it's a film on a rapist. Tomorrow it could be something else that's equally provocative and edgy. Are you saying that certain aspects of society cannot be shown? We cannot, as a documentary filmmaker or indeed a television channel, hold a mirror to society and show the good, the bad and the ugly. This is the ugly.
You certainly can. You certainly can. First of all, I disagree with Madhu Kishwar that we are being more loyal than the king. I'm fighting for my own space. I'm fighting for my own right to walk in the street at night, to lead life on my own terms, and with Madhu Kishwar's permission, I have the right to do that. Maybe she's, yes, so you occupy your space, we have a right to occupy our space, and we don't need your permission to do that, Mrs. Madhu Kishwar. Now, Rajdeep, on your question, 1 minute, I'm not trampling on your space. Now, on the issue of ban, the women's organizations and the women who've represented it have not sought a ban on the film. We have urged NDTV and BBC to reconsider their editorial policy. Every organization has an editorial policy. So you're saying headlines today chooses its news.
So you're saying snip out
its words.
So you're saying snip out portions.
We've not said ban this documentary, don't sell it in shops.
Okay, hold on.
We are saying don't broadcast it because it is not fit for broadcasting to an insensitive audience. It will lead to more violence against women because it's glorifying
Nandita, I'm going to ask each person to keep their responses short so that we can get everyone in. You know, it's a fascinating debate because it is a complex one.
Yes,
Farooq Dondi, as someone who's done documentary filmmakers, written books, do you believe that this glorifies the rapist? That is the strongest argument that is made in some way, particularly in a country like India. This is not the West. The BBC's editorial standards may not apply in the Indian context. How do you respond to that? That there's a Western standard versus an Indian standard?
I think that the BBC's editorial policy was applied extremely judiciously to this. I don't agree with Nandita that this is a provocative documentary, that it's full of hate and whatnot. Obviously, Mukesh Singh gave his point of view. What it did for me and what it did for the British public, I think, was demonstrate what kind of a twisted mindset such a felon, such a criminal, such a rapist.
But could a British mindset be very different from an Indian mindset? Sorry to intervene. Could a British mindset be very different from an Indian mindset? Can there be common editorial standards?
If you want to talk about mindsets, the most chilling thing about it was that the two lawyers who defended those rapists seemed to have the same mindset as them, saying that the restrictions on women, on women's freedoms should be exercised. And I think that the world and India, I think the majority of India would see that that is the wrong mindset and has to be got rid of before any advance can be made in gender equality, of which, of course, everybody who must have seen the film would support. There was no provocation in it whatsoever. And the main thing is, one of the main things is it gave a voice to the parents of Nirbhaya. And I think that this kind of hysterical, almost over the top attack.
But it denied a voice to the women of India.
Is really
no
saying
feminists
that you
were
want to
interviewed.
stop the parents of this poor victim speaking. You can't deny them their voice. This film gives them
First
their
of all,
voice.
stop being patronizing. Stop saying poor victim. She was a brave girl who fought till the end.
Just a minute, Nandita, let's not, no shouting and screaming today. Let's have a reasoned debate. But I take your point, and there are two views to that. Because remember, the parents of this girl have also been interviewed by Indian news channels right through the last 2 years when this incident happened. But Nagma, the actor and MP, is joining us. Nagma, your views. I'm told you've come out in support of the film, that you believe that the film should be shown.
Rajdeep, I have an Indian mindset. I want to begin with that. And I would like to say that I could manage to get to see that footage, and I didn't think there was anything really derogatory in the film. And at the same time, I also managed to see a few bites of Nirbhaya's parents, and I think that they also held the view. Nobody was more victimized. I would say more than they were. So I think if anybody should have objection in the society, it should be them first. But if they feel that this is a film that could get justice to their daughter, I don't think, and there's nothing derogatory.
You're an MP from Meerut. Let's see if this film is shown in Meerut. If this film is shown in a Meerut or a Muzaffarnagar, if it's shown in...
I'm not an MP. I am not an MP.
Yes, but you contested. My apologies. You contested.
I did contest from Meerut.
No. My apologies. You contested from there. If this film was shown there, do you believe it would have a negative impact on the mind of a male, let's say, tomorrow there, who hears Mukesh Singh and will be in some way believing that, look, Mukesh Singh has got a platform, I can also get a platform, that it's glorifying the rapist? Do you think that's how people there will think?
No, I don't think. I hold a different view, and I think that we should respect each and everybody's view. We should take into consideration, I managed to see, I don't know whether that was the raw footage, but I would think it was. And I would say that, after checking all the technicalities of that film and after checking all the permissions, if that film can be aired, I think it should be aired. For the simple reason is that one of the lawyers there, I think he was a defense lawyer, if I'm not mistaken,
yes,
he was saying that, you know, girls like these behave like the girls from the film industry. I mean, what do the lawyers think that film industry, the girls from
so
the
you're
film
saying
industry
it exposes,
also come up from very good
you're
homes.
saying it exposes,
I'm really surprised that, you know, that lawyer, one second, I'm saying that.
Yeah, go ahead.
See, I just want to make a point here, Rajdeep. I just want to say that that lawyer is not a rapist. But unfortunately, he held that view, saying that, you know, girls shouldn't be coming out like that. Girls shouldn't be dressing up like that. I mean, he's not a rapist. But that advocate said things like that. He's a man. So I definitely think that, you know, men who hold this view, this thing now all the more should be aired.
Okay, so you're saying, okay, I get your point. I get your point, Nagma. Nagma, I get your point. You're saying these views.
We already know.
No, I get your point. I just want to come to you, Maxwell Pereira. Should these views not be aired? I mean, look at the police officer. You're saying the Home Ministry took this decision. The point I have, and I think Madhu Kishwar made this, I don't think Rajnath Singh has seen this film. I don't think Mr. Bassi has seen this film. And yet they went ahead and banned it. And the worry is tomorrow, everything in this society, if some group doesn't like it, some small fringe group will come and say, we don't like this film or we don't like this book, ban it. Aren't you worried as a police officer that you are creating a society wherein, you know, it's so easy to ban and censor?
I'm totally worried on this score, Rajdeep. I'm that people jump to conclusions here in this country without even having seen a thing, without even reading a book, it is banned. It is, you know, somebody raises a hysteria and on the is the basis for action, and a very crucial action which is, you know, irreversible kind of a thing. It impacts the writer, it impacts the culture, it impacts everything. Now, having said that, I have an Indian mindset too, and it's not only the women of India, the men of India also have a mindset. Like Madhu made a point about the documentary has harmed the rapist much more than anyone else, much more than it can ever harm the, you know, victim. Whatever,
can I put
the whole country, the
can
revulsion.
I put that to Nandita Rao very simply, Nandita Rao? You know, if you remember Narendra Modi in his Independence Day, just a minute, sir.
Country has faced.
Just a minute,
this
sir.
Is something that should be seen by everybody.
Just a minute. You know, Nandita Rao, let me tell you what Narendra Modi said in his Independence Day speech. He said it's not, you know, if we have to ensure women's security, it's not just about women, it's about the men. We need to send a message to men. He said specifically parents need to remind their sons what they need to do. Now, a documentary like this, by exposing the mindsets of the male, isn't that something of worth in itself? Should that not be shown? I mean, what are we trying to hide is the question, Nandita, that I have. Why are activists so determined to hide something?
We do not know the mindset. When we, no, Rajdeep,
we are just
if I'm allowed to answer and
else.
I'm not forced to shout and then later called hysterical, I'll be very happy. I think there is no mystery on what is the mindset of 60% of men. You walk on the street, you hear what was said on the film. We go to court, we hear it from lawyers. 87% of this documentary film is unedited. Dialogues like women like her deserved it, referring to Nirbhaya. If it was my daughter, I would have taken her to a farmhouse and burnt her if she went out with her boyfriend.
It's exposing the male mindset. It's exposing the male mindset. Why not expose the ugly Indian male mindset?
There is no critique. Now it is exposed. 1 minute. Yes, now Rajdeep, the ugly Indian male mindset is exposed every day and validated by other men who share that mindset, or our world would have changed.
So why can't a cinema maker do that?
Are sending on a pawn shop.
Why doesn't a filmmaker have the right to do that? Why does a filmmaker have a right not to do that?
But this filmmaker has failed. This filmmaker has failed to do that. 87%. She has lost control of the narrative.
So call it a bad film.
87%.
So say it's a bad film and ban it.
Hate speech.
Say it's a bad film and don't see it.
It is a bad film.
Don't see it.
That is what we are saying.
Don't see it.
We have never said ban it. We have never said ban it. The government of India, which has an RSS mindset, has banned it. If you see the letter sent by Ms. Jaising and all of us, we have urged NDTV and BBC.
Why bring RSS into this?
This is unadulterated hate speech.
Why are we bringing RSS into this? My worry is that politics is getting confused.
I'm just saying, we have not said ban it.
Okay.
Why are you... Why are you blaming women's organizations for banning it? We have said, exercise your editorial policy. This is a bad film.
Okay.
This is allowing hate speech to take control. Do not show it.
Okay.
Most men will feel validated.
Okay,
it's only the enlightened men who feel offended.
Okay, let me press
Rajdeep.
Yes, Madhukeshwar, go ahead.
Rajdeep.
Yes, go ahead.
I think this is actually even worse than asking the government to ban it. Insisting that the TV channel should exercise self-censorship, otherwise we'll raise hell for you. This kind of pressure by a small coterie, if you were to count their numbers,
not threatened anybody.
they
That's your
wouldn't even go, wait, please, I'm not, please, don't, the way you yell and scream.
Yes,
I'm saying this
we are not a coterie to anybody. You can
just a
call
minute, one by one, please. One by one, please. Madhukeshwar, go ahead. Madhukeshwar didn't interfere with you. Nandita, let us speak.
The point that I'm see, the artistic freedom of speech and expression. I mean, Nandita keeps saying, we know the mindset, we know how rapists think. By that logic, we should have no more films on rape or on domestic violence because we know it all. Nandita knows it all. Therefore, we need never have any novel, film, play, documentary on any of these things. This kind of arrogance and assuming the power to
glorifying it.
With that, I'm sorry, no, I don't think it glorifies in any case. There are numerous films that romanticize.
It certainly does glorify. 87% of the film space is occupied.
No, well, if her parents didn't think so, please don't be more loyal than the king. If they were not hurt, you don't have the right to start bleeding and emoting and going hysterical.
So I as a woman don't have a right to feel I'm unsafe?
I'm saying we need to be
protected. Not going hysterical.
We need women of India
need
to be protected from hysterical feminists.
Okay.
Rajdeep, I tell you, women of India need to be protected from hysterical feminists.
Okay, let's not become personal again. No, let's not become personal. I am not going to, let's focus on the seriousness of the issue. Farooq Dondi, and then I'll come to you, Abha Singh, but Farooq Dondi sitting there in Britain, do you believe today that the BBC, it's a question I asked at the start, would the BBC air a similar documentary if this happened in London? If what happened in Delhi happened in London, do you believe that is the kind of documentary the BBC would have aired? Or do they believe they could take a far greater license because it was India?
Absolutely. I've worked in the industry for 30 years. Absolutely they would. In fact, they would be more enthusiastic about it, and they'd probably not show it at 10 o'clock at night. They'd probably show it at 9 o'clock at night, at absolutely prime time, because it's the responsibility of the media to demonstrate people's mindsets. I completely disagree that this film is a bad film. It's a very good film. It was a very well-made documentary. It was a documentary that covered all sides of aspects. And there was absolutely, you must be sick to think that it gave any headline to a rapist, or it attracted any sort of sanction to rapists and that kind of attitude.
Let me give you an example.
Let me give you an example, Farooq. And it showed it up. And I'm telling you that 99% of people who saw the documentary will say this is a shameful attitude. This rapist is showing absolutely no regret for what he did.
Absolutely,
and the lawyers, the idiots, are supporting him.
Why don't you show it to a viewers forum?
Absolutely.
Abha Singh, lawyer, the big question that I said I will now raise is who draws the line? Who decides whether a documentary should be shown or not? I've got people on my Twitter account saying, you know, we are going to download the links and send them to our followers. This is the era of social media. This is the era of the internet. The idea of a ban in today's world, would you agree, doesn't simply work. We need to just get away from banning it? Yes, we could have differences of opinion on the way in which the filmmaker has portrayed the entire story. But is it enough to justify a ban? Is our reaction typically hysterical?
No, it is not hysterical. It is absolutely as per law, because since the appeal is pending in the Supreme Court, hence it's a clear contempt of court. It is obstructing justice, number one. Number two, the right way would have been to get an injunction from the civil court, get it served to the BBC. Somebody on your channel is saying that they are trying to tell the mindset and giving the parents a chance to speak. It is something like the way you are justifying the British imperialism on countries, the third world countries. I'm sorry to say, after this document, every rape will be justified because a woman is wearing clothes, revealing clothes, she's with her boyfriend, she's at 9 in the night, and hence she's a bad woman, should be raped. This is the end. The whole documentary has only two voices, the rapist and the lawyer, and these two misogynistic voices are sending such a wrong message, glorifying rape. And I think the police should have, very same day they have goofed up, injunction should have been issued and BBC should have been forced. Their own court in UK should have served them some notice.
Can I hold you to that?
By saying that they are just showing the mindset. We don't need the BBC to tell us that we don't know what the mindset is.
Okay, that question of an injunction is a tough one. Whether that can apply to as a channel which beams out of London is the question. But you know, who decides whether a documentary is, who decides, hold on, who decides, ma'am, whether a documentary is misogynistic or not is the next issue. Because, you know, Madhu Kishwar, many will say the graphic description of the physical harm and injuries caused to the victim is horrific and unnecessary, is what activists are saying. Now, should activists decide that this is misogynistic? Can the channel decide that? Can the Home Ministry decide that? Who decides whether a particular documentary, someone has to.
The law will decide.
You believe the law will decide. Who do you believe?
The law will decide.
Okay, you made your point, Abba Singh. Who will decide, Madhu Kishwar?
But, see, if the law is to decide, then this hysteria shouldn't be created, because what they're doing is, they're creating so much heat for the government, and most governments in India are cowardly when faced with this kind of criticism or this kind of pressure.
Including Narendra Modi's government? Including, you believe Narendra Modi's government is cowardly?
This act shows utter mindlessness and cowardice. Okay. Secondly, it worries me a great deal. That a media channel, a media house has led the campaign for a crackdown on fellow media professionals.
That's a good point.
To me,
that's a good point that media channels today are pushing. That the media itself is pushing censorship against. I take your point. I take your point, ma'am.
They should be vigilant. And it's not that today you settle scores with a rival channel. Tomorrow it could be your turn. This is no way to put pressure. And certainly hysterical feminists ought not to have the right to decide on behalf of all of us. This is no way to go about things. This is dangerous for our democracy.
Let me get final comments from all our panelists. Maxwell Pereira, who should decide? Should the Delhi police, does the Delhi police know what is misogynistic and what is not? Let's be clear. Is the Delhi police competent to decide?
Delhi police will investigate. You know, it's a complaint received by someone or the whatever basis on which the FIR has been registered. That having said, I totally support Madhu Kishwar's arguments on this. It is absolutely ridiculous that someone goes without even seeing certain action is decided, be it at the highest level or at the lowest police station level. Nowhere you should.
Okay. But who should decide?
There is no decision in this. There is no decision in this. Some allegation is there.
Exactly.
That allegation has been built up in hysteria. This allegation has to be investigated. So registration of a case I have no argument with. But thereafter one has to really wait and see before acting on it. Before announcing a ban or doing whatever.
I take your point. I'm running out of time. I take your point. Quick answer, Nagma. Should politicians at all get into this? Should they just stay out? Should our parliamentarians stay out? Should Parliament decide which film can be shown?
Rajdeep, you have to be fair to. You have to be fair to me. I can't give you a very quick answer, but I need to give you an answer for this.
Yes.
I need to tell you that I am also an educated woman of this country, and I hold a different view from a lawyer. And I would like to say that I was also on the jury for the national awards. Of course, law has to be kept into consideration for this documentary to be seen, but I haven't seen this document. I don't think that this documentary, that there was anything like that, you know, something has to be very alarming about this. Another thing is that my concern is that this guy who has no remorse for whatever he's done for such a heinous crime. I just want to make this last point. I just want to make this last point.
Yes.
I just want to make this last point, that he has no remorse whatsoever. And he is blatantly saying that. So I don't think we should get so emotional about it. But some human rights activist comes tomorrow and says that no, he shouldn't be hanged. He should, his mercy should be changed into a life sentence and all. That is my concern.
Okay, your concern.
I definitely think that this should be it.
Nandita Rao, quickly respond. Do you believe that this should be fought in the courts? Take the battle to the courts. You've given legal reasons. It's a contempt of court, you believe, to have had done this interview and tried to air it while the conviction is still being decided in the highest court. Let's take the legal battle rather than the ethical one.
See, from a civil, where, you know, on the legal battle, very quickly, there is a civil liberties violation. One of the convicts has been given a space to incriminate all others without giving them a chance to defend themselves while the judicial proceedings haven't achieved finality.
Yes.
On the other issue of very quickly, you know,
the
even when you show smoking on screen, you write smoking is injurious to health.
Right.
So if the audience, if the audience was so mature that they could discern that, oh, even though the hero is smoking, it's not safe for us, then I certainly think that the audience is not so mature that when a lawyer wearing his legal uniform is saying that if my daughter went out with her boyfriend, I would take her to my farmhouse and burn her, and a rape convict is saying that, you know, what I did was right,
okay, so you're
and she was out and we raped her and we, you know.
Nandita, so, you made your point.
Yeah.
Nandita,
at least give it the same seriousness as smoking on screen.
Okay, sorry, can I get a final word from you, Farooq Dondi? A mature audience. Films need to be seen in the context of a mature audience. 30 seconds.
Certainly. I'll try and answer your question. In the BBC's case and in the case of all British broadcasters, they are subject to laws. They can't, for instance, libel somebody. They must retain balance and they cannot break the law on incitement. So if I go on television and say, kill all Jews, before having, say, a Jewish person replying to that and say, what the hell are you talking about and why?
Yes.
I would not be allowed to do it.
Right.
Editorially, the BBC, Channel 4, everybody are subject to that kind of law. And as far as this documentary is concerned, there really was no question of breaking any law or any incitement. What I would say to Nandita Rao is please acquire the film and show it at all your meetings. It will do the feminist cause a lot of good.
I have seen it.
Okay, let's leave it there. Let's leave it there. Obviously, as I said,
thank you for the mail sanction.
Okay, let's leave it there. It's time for my take. I thank all my panelists. I want the viewers to decide. And ultimately, it's the viewer who decides perhaps whether he or she wants to see it or not. It's the job of the channel to telecast it. You have every right to see it or not. My take, as I end this show, the BBC telecast of the Delhi rape documentary raises ethical and legal questions, not all of which have been convincingly answered. Yet the outrage and ban in this country is a trifle misplaced. The documentary is already out on social sites and opinion remains divided on its contents. To ban it even without watching it is to set a dangerous precedent. It is time to grow up.